President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi witnessed in February 2022 the launch of the National Project for Development of the Egyptian Family. The project is the cornerstone to address the overpopulation crisis out of a comprehensive vision, including the health, social, family and economic dimensions. It will be implemented over 3 years, from 2021 to 2023, based on accurate databases and active communication mechanisms with all categories of the society, which can be used for the interests of the project's activities. During its first year, the project is targeting governorates of the first phase of the presidential initiative Decent Life, which covers 1,520 villages on the level of 52 centers in a number of 20 upper and lower Egyptian governorates. The project aims at economically empowering females aged between 18 and 45 through financial independence and work via establishing units of family health and development, implementing 1 million female-led micro-projects in different governorates, holding training for 2 million women on project management, and establishing tailoring shops for women. It includes reducing the women's unmet needs of reproductive health methods and making them available free of charge to all through training for 1,500 female doctors to assume that mission at healthcare units nationwide, cooperating with 400 civil societies to provide the reproductive health services, preparing mobile service centers, providing the food baskets of first 1,000-day program. The project also aims to create a unified electronic system to automate and link all services provided to the Egyptian family through building the Egyptian Family System to link the marriage database, family database, Takaful and Karama database, database of family health and development units with the database of the Egyptian Family Insurance Fund. This comes with the aim of measuring commitment to the terms of the proposed incentive program, in addition to building a system for monitoring and assessing the National Project for Development of the Egyptian Family. Meanwhile, it also works to raise the citizens' awareness of the basic concepts of the population issue, as well as the social and economic effects of the population increase, through sending media messages at the state level and advertising campaigns on all available media outlets, raising awareness of the concept of family planning from the perspective of the children's rights, as well as cultural events and educational curricula to raise awareness of the economic and social dimensions of the population issue at the level of the Republic. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, continuing our discussion with Dr. Howla. Doctor, now talking about these social protection initiatives, now the country is allocating about £3 billion for these initiatives, especially the Takaful and Karama, the Solidarity and Dignity initiative, to cover 500,000 families. The NGOs and the private sector are allocating about £2.5 to £3 billion to cover 400 and 500 families. Now, so these initiatives are basically depending on the government's financing and also NGOs and the private sector. Can you explain the dynamics of these three parties in terms of cooperating to take care of these initiatives, really financing them for starters and planning them and then implementing them and making sure the right people, the right Egyptian families get the help and protection they need?
They put some kind of cooperation system which is acceptable, but I hope it improves more. Mm-hmm. Actually, I can talk more about the private sector, which is a part of it. Mm-hmm. We can reach people with the small details will never be discovered by papers. Mm-hmm. Because we are knowing the people themselves. We know how they are trying to play, if some of them are trying, who are having dignity prevents them from showing their needs. We have the soft touch, which is not being discovered or disclosed through the papers. And with the coordination with the governmental efforts, we can reach more accurate results and more preventing more people to avoid playing with the rules. But this is the point. I hope the cooperation between the sectors are improving, especially when now we don't have something to prevent the ID number to be in a network to contain all the efforts together. They are working on it, but still we need a lot of efforts more to achieve that. Instead of making people running from a social organization to another to pick up money from here and here, 50 pounds from here, 20 pounds from there, we can make one network, and he will have the right to go to one source and improve their what you can give them. Yani collect the total amount he can get and put it in one account. To make it fair and to be able to help all people with the same level. But now the active people who are running everywhere, they gain more, but the shy people who are feeling shy to knock the doors, they will gain nothing. This is the point. I hope they work on it more.
Do you think that NGOs and the private sector should have more of a responsibility, at least in terms of planning, for instance, or because, pardon, when we talk about the private sector, everybody imagines that the private sector always looks for profit, or one way, some way to make some profit, even from a developmental work or a charitable work. So does that still exist, or are the NGOs and private sectors having all the right sort of incentives and goodwill to do the work without having to deal with a lot of profit-making operations?
We have to know that we are not in heaven. We are in a world with bad people, unfortunately, trying to penetrate and trying to get the best out of anything for their own sake. So the only control of this is the penal code, to put more rules, to be more transparent, to make some more details to be followed, to discover all the weak points to avoid. But still, of course, the good people are everywhere, but unfortunately, even they are less, but they affect the repetition even of the whole work. For my organization, I refuse to accept any donations because of that. I don't want any negative effect or any wrong image to my work. So people are trying to put some rules to achieve better results, and this is the role actually of the governmental efforts to give more implementation of the penal codes and all the rules to be followed.
Dr. Howla, your NGO mainly works as well and deals with street children and homeless people. And whenever we talk about anything, you always mention the identification number and all these sort of serial known governmental numbers. And some of these people don't have identification IDs or any numbers or any bank accounts or social security numbers, nothing, because some of them are even might be too young to have. How do you deal with taking care of the homeless people, the street children, people who are not necessarily part of a well-established family, no matter how needy they are? How can you get them, train them, educate them, and really indulge them within the Egyptian society?
The first point you mentioned is having an ID. This is a really big problem for some of them. They are as if they are nobody. We fight to get them their ID, first by trying to track the source or the family places and people around to discover, because many of them actually they are lying and never tell the truth from the beginning. But gradually, one of them, he said that my father and my mother are dead and I am alone in the life. But then we discovered he has a family in Amany, governorate. We try to gain their trust, to discover their background, and we try to find their identification, the real identification. Really, some people we cannot, or they are lost, they don't have any idea about their roots. We start to make them an ID, and it's a very difficult process and takes a lot of time. And I understand, of course, yani, you are creating a person in papers, but it's very not easy thing to do. I hope this point will be more, I don't refuse the regulations and the ways to discover, but at least make it quickly. We stayed for 2 years, an example, to get an ID for one of our kids. This is the point. The second point, the street children, I refuse this name actually, but these children are actually very passionate. They want to achieve something. They feel very appreciated to anybody who is trying to help them. Also, they are aggressive. They have a negative feeling towards people because usually they have very bad experience in life. But you cannot imagine the great change could happen to them when they find really trustful places and helpful people and loving people to them. They change, you cannot change your kids, but you can change these kids much easier.
Yes. Well, which would you say is the more difficult or more challenging task? Is it the financing to helping them be integrated into society, giving them good opportunities for training, for education, for homes? Or is it about the cultural challenge, which is, or the mental and human challenge, which is gaining their trust, understanding and convincing them that they could trust other people, that they could be integrated into society, that they could have a chance for a better life? Which is more challenging?
The second point is more challenging because they are very smart, they can learn easy, they can improve their skills very easy, more than you can imagine. Because it's like the giant who used to be jailed, and then you open the door for him and give him a chance. Of course, as we are vocational experts, I used to be surprised from their improvement, and even they are creating some ideas. But to make them feel peace and trust and having good relations with people, this takes time.
Dr. Howla, now, whenever we talk about the Ministry of Social Solidarity and the government's efforts in terms of development work for the Egyptian society, we've mentioned a lot of initiatives tackling with women, children, infrastructure, health, education, everything. Now, these are all initiatives that are already in place and currently being implemented in different phases. What more initiatives do you need, or which sort of an initiative or aspect of the development that you feel the Egyptian society needs to focus more on? Is it about job opportunities? Is it about education, health? Is it about the infrastructure, dealing with, because there's still, the Decent Life Initiative deals with more than 4,000 villages, so that's a big chunk. I mean, millions and millions and millions of Egyptians. Which aspect do you feel is in need of more work and more development?
You will be surprised. I have a dream of having some kind of like an army group walk on the streets and pick up everybody begging in the street and start to make them study. Because many of them, they having assets. They have some small houses, they have tuk-tuk, they have, but they still walking in the streets begging people. But we have to prevent this phenomena If we pick up them and prevent them from being in the streets and make some kind of camping area and give them some lectures, starting from having dignity, because many of them, they are trying to convince you to give them money, but in a very unacceptable way. Especially with tourists, I feel very embarrassed. I feel very, my country is in a bad position with this image. But I hope we can make some kind of an initiative or whatever for it's kind of training, special training to be Egyptian, to learn how to respect yourself and to know your rights. You can get a job, you can get training, you can get even ma'ash if you don't have any possibilities, like you are handicapped or whatever, and to put them on the track.
Yes.
Nobody will see beggars in the streets.
Yes.
This is the great dream of my life.
Well, one final question, and it's regarding a huge initiative as well that the government has gone through a lot of efforts to really also focus on people with special needs and creating a sort of the right infrastructure for them, the right training and job opportunities in all walks of life. How much do you feel Egypt has undergone, especially in this domain, taking care and focusing on people with special needs and gifts as well?
Actually, this is one of the greatest initiatives and activities happening in my country, and I feel very, very appreciating to these efforts. Especially, I saw myself, especially in the very poor and rural areas, they just keep the handicapped at home, tied him to the wall, and like an animal, because they are very poor and they are very ignorant. They don't know what to do, and they cause problems for them. I saw very unhuman positions for these kids. Now they start to gain some of their rights, and actually there is great improvement. I hope, especially with Haya Karima, they are invading the countryside, which they will see very needy, handicapped people there.
Yes. Well, you've been, throughout your work, you've been to many villages and many different places and rural areas as well. Do you feel a difference since the Decent Life Initiative was launched in 2021 up until now, and what would you want to see or hope to see more, at least for 2023?
Of course, there is a big difference, but still we are a huge country. We have a lot of things we need. We just started the steps, but still we have a long way.
Yes.
I hope, especially educational for the kids, for the elementary schools, I hope they get more care, because they are actually the beginning of the either directions. But I hope we can control more, because of they are a huge number, and still the efforts have been made not enough to contain them.
Yes. Well, hopefully, ladies and gentlemen, same time next year, or maybe even sooner, we'll be talking about the achievements of the second phase of the Decent Life Initiative, and then talking about the third phase. As you've heard from Dr. Howla, a lot of progress has been made, but still a lot of work needs to be done, and we've got to do it public sector, private sector, NGOs, and comes down to the very single, in each and every single Egyptian individual. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for this edition of the Daily Debate, talking about the social developmental initiatives and projects taken by the government. But before we go, I'd like to thank my guest, Dr. Amany Howla, the physician actually and head of an NGO and a writer at the newspaper. Dr. Howla, thank you very much for joining us this evening.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stay tuned for more coming up on Nile International. I'm Hani Saif. Thank you for joining us.